Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Public Buildings and Distressed Communities second quarter webinar training. A few logistics before we get started. First, the webinar is being recorded and we'll distribute it once the webinar is complete. Second, all attendees are on mute. If you have any questions, please feel free to type it into the chat box. We will get to all questions at the end of the presentation. I would now like to pass it over to Patrick to get us started.
Thanks, Taylor. Hi, everybody. This is Patrick Sullivan. I'm a program manager at CDEC here at the University of Illinois, and I'll be spending my time here with Brian Tillman and Taylor White, my CDEC colleagues at the 360 Energy Group in Chicago. And I think, Taylor, you have the slides there. Thank you. The next slide. So today we'll be starting with a safety message, and then we'll do a quick overview of the offerings, measure overview, the eligibility for the program. We'll look at our reaction to COVID-19, talk about virtual site visits, HVAC contractors, lighting kit suppliers, invoicing, marketing and outreach, and then we'll handle any questions that you have. And if we could have the next slide. All right, so today's safety message is about the summer. Be safe this summer under the sun and with these safety tips. Wear a hat with a brim all the way around that shades your face, ears, and the back of your neck. A tightly woven fabric such as canvas works best to protect your skin from UV rays. Sunglasses protect your eyes from UV rays and reduce the risk of cataracts. They also protect the tender skin around your eyes from sun exposure. Apply a broad spectrum sunscreen with at least an SPF of 15 before you go outside, even on slightly cloudy or cool days. Don't forget to put a thick layer on all parts of exposed skin. If we could have the next slide. All right, here's an overview of the public buildings and distressed communities. We have two broad parts to the offering, that includes HVAC measures and lighting kit measures. The HVAC measures include HVAC tune-up and notched V-belts, HVAC thermostats, EMS installation with set points and schedule optimization, optimizing thermostats, EMS temperature set points, demand-controlled ventilation, enthalpy economizer optimization, and variable speed drives. On the lighting kit side, we have LED interior lights, LED exterior lighting, occupancy sensors, advanced power strips, and LED exit signs. To be eligible for the offering, public sector facilities need to be located in ComEd territory. And we have a map here on the right that is shaded with the ComEd territory and then with the specific distressed communities shaded a little bit darker. So the offering is for education facilities, K through 12 schools, community colleges, and colleges and universities. Fire protection districts, libraries, municipalities and governments, including local, county, state, and federal buildings, park districts, police stations, and public housing authorities. So to determine your eligibility, you can access this interactive map that we have a picture of on the right at the link below it, comed.com/eligible map. And what you can do on that map is type in the address of the site that you're interested in, and it'll pop up here on this map and let you know if it's in an eligible geographic area. Okay, next slide. And I think now I'm going to hand it over to Brian Tillman. Is that right, Brian? Are you going to talk about the COVID-19?
That's correct. Thank you so much, Patrick, and thank you everybody that's on the line today. I will jump in here to just discuss a little bit about our reaction to COVID-19 and take on the next few slides here. So I'm guessing we have all seen impacts associated with the COVID-19 virus, and we are taking this very seriously and have a few updates pertaining to this offering. So let's start with a few updates for the lighting portion of the offering. In-person site visits are temporarily suspended. So what we have done is we have moved to virtual site visits. These virtual site visits are being done via Ring Central or similar programs, and have actually been working out quite well for us. So we've been really happy with this transition. It was a pretty large pivot, and you know, anyone that's been working with us on these, I'm sure you've seen it, and hopefully everyone is seeing kind of the positive feedback that we have so far on these. I also want to talk about this with regard to the HVAC portion of the offering. Service providers may still go on customer sites and complete work as long as social distancing is maintained, necessary precautions are taken, and any customer requests are observed. So just, you know, be very cautious if you are going on site, and just make sure to listen to the customer. If they have a request, even if it may seem a little extreme to you, just make sure to observe that. Next slide, please. So over the past several months, we have pulled together some information for HVAC site visits, incentives, and technical tips that we can share with you now. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next slide and dive right into HVAC virtual site visits. So although HVAC contractors can go on site, we have seen a strong interest in virtual site visits since some customers want to minimize in-person meetings. This is the case with a customer. The process to complete the virtual site visit is listed on this slide. So I'll just talk through those steps. There's 5 steps that we typically like to take with this. The first one is to submit an application to us. That's publicbuildings@cdac.org. And then once you get approved, or once the facility gets approved to move forward with the virtual site visit, you can determine the customer's availability. And then next you will want to schedule the virtual site visit and invite a CDAC team member to attend. You'll also want to send directions to the customer in advance of the meeting. So send it to them a couple days in advance so they know how to get on to Ring Central or whatever, you know, whatever system kind of you're using. And then you complete the virtual site visit using the HVAC worksheet. Next slide, please. Once the site visit is scheduled, you want to make sure that you're prepared for the virtual site visit as well. Since COVID-19 has hit, it seems like many of us have become much more familiar with using online tools, but I hope this slide provides a few additional tips maybe that you hadn't thought of, or that will help you kind of prepare. So first, you want to ensure that the internet is connected and running efficiently. We've all been on webinars where a connection is choppy, so we want to try to minimize this as best as possible. Next, you'll want to test your camera and microphone. You'll also want to ensure that you know the meeting agenda and what you are looking to get out of the meeting. And then finally, you will want to ask the customer to provide any outstanding information, which could include photos, model numbers, usage data, anything else that might be pertinent to the work at that site. Next slide, please. So we want to provide a little insight into some of the incentives for HVAC measures, since there are several factors that play into the incentive rates. I want to provide some incentive examples so that you have a better idea of how much can be received for the project, and we want to mention that these are simply examples. The exact incentives can change. So first we want to start with the incentives for a tune-up. This is on a 5-year-old unit. They came out to about $34 per ton on a municipal building and $9 per ton on a school. These incentives can go up and down depending on a few things, including age. So if it is an older unit than this, those incentives may be more than that. Now, if the unit is, say, 4 years old, they could go and be less than that. They can go down from there. The older the unit, the higher the incentive, basically. It should also be noted that this is a progressive incentive that can cover up to 100% of the cost of the tune-up, as well as demand control ventilation or variable frequency / speed drives. The incentive for the demand control ventilation comes out to approximately $40 per 1,000 square feet of conditioned space, and this is actually on both municipal buildings and schools. So building type there doesn't matter as much. And then the incentive for variable frequency drive or variable speed drive comes out to about $425 per horsepower for municipal buildings and $180 per horsepower for a school. Next slide, please. Before wrapping up the HVAC section of this presentation, I'll go over a few tips for this offering. These are a few things that we've kind of gathered over the last several months. First, check thermostats and set points and schedules at sites. We see a number of opportunities to make adjustments, and there are incentives available for this. So it's not just about installing, say, a new thermostat. It's also looking at the existing one if it's programmable and seeing if there's some tweaks that can be made there. Next tip is to capture all data at the initial site visit and use the HVAC worksheet. This will help gather that information. You'll want to get things like nameplate information and motor horsepower while you're at this. And then another tip is to look out for refrigerant leaks during the site visit. If you do find a leak that's outside of the tune-up scope, let us know. We can send this to the customer so that they can get it repaired before scheduling the tune-up. And finally, please reach out to us if you want to know if you have some customers that you want to see if they're eligible. We can actually screen those for you. So if you had a list of customers and you weren't sure if the sites were eligible or not, let us know. We're happy to help with that. And we've had some of the service providers do that, and it's always helpful. So there's some clarity for you regarding which sites are going to be eligible and which ones are not. So that wraps up the HVAC measures for now. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Taylor to discuss the lighting kits. Next slide, please. And there you go.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. At this point of the webinar, we will be discussing the lighting kit suppliers, shipping, and invoicing. The Public Buildings and Distressed Communities offering has been up and running for the past 8 months, and we've noticed a few issues with shipping and invoicing. Here are a few helpful hints to remember when shipping and invoicing. All lighting kit suppliers are required to submit shipping information, price, and tracking information before all projects are processed. If there's an issue with any product delivery, such as lamps breaking during the transit, it is the duty of the lighting kit supplier to ship new lamps and help dispose of other broken lamps. If there's an issue with product availability, please communicate any issues before products are shipped. As a reminder, this offering is funded for distressed communities by the ratepayers. Therefore, the shipping cost should not exceed 10% of the material cost. And if you have any questions or any issues with invoicing or shipping, please feel free to reach out to me directly. My contact information is on your screen. A quick reminder of invoicing and payments, that you should submit the invoice after the product is delivered, and you should include the shipping information as previously discussed during the purchase order phase. When you're submitting your invoice, please include the project name listed on the purchase order on the invoice. Additionally, payment should be received by the energy efficiency service provider within 75 days of received invoices. However, we've been doing a bit better and averaging around 55 to 60 days of payment. Please feel free to reach out to me directly with any project-specific questions. And just a few more friendly reminders when supplying lighting kits. When a purchase order is submitted on behalf of the Public Buildings and Distressed Communities offering, please respond as soon as possible with confirmation that you are able or unable to fulfill the lighting kit order, even if it's a simple yes email letting us know you are interested in the project. If there are product shortages due to transportation or COVID-19, please let us know as soon as possible. We will continue to place orders on the information we have been given. Additionally, communication is of the utmost importance in the public buildings and distressed communities offering. If you are out of a product or have an updated product, please let us know as soon as possible. We will only provide purchase orders on approved products through our request for qualifications process. We are still accepting lighting kit requests for qualifications on a rolling basis. If you're looking to have more approved items on your list, please submit an updated RFQ to publicbuildingsrfq.cdac.org. We will discuss this more in the next slides. Now to discuss some marketing and outreach tips. In your welcome packet, you should have received the offering fact sheet, measure and process guideline, eligibility criteria, and application. If you like physical materials or for the digital materials welcome packet, please email publicbuildings@cdac.org. Many providers ask how they can be more profitable through the public buildings and distressed communities offering. The simple answer is to outreach to your current customers. The more projects you bring in, the more business you will receive. On the application, there is a referred by line at the bottom. Have your customer place your name or your business name on that line for a referral. As stated before, we're still accepting RFQ submissions for lighting kit providers that would like to add more approved products to their portfolio. To expedite this RFQ process, please include the following materials when submitting your RFQ: the revised RFQ sheets, specification sheets, proof of ENERGY STAR certification, and DLC listings. And once again, to resubmit your RFQ, please email publicbuildingsrfq@cdac.org. To make the most out of your outreach experience, we have provided some marketing do's and don'ts to help you along the way. Do attach the Public Buildings and Distressed Community fact sheet to your outreach emails. This was provided in your welcome packet. Please email us if you need any additional copies. Do use the full name in your outreach, Public Buildings and Distressed Communities. Please do not abbreviate to PBDC, as customers will not know what that is. Do state that you're an energy efficiency service provider with the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program. Do research the best contacts for each facility/municipality. Many facilities have multiple contacts such as lead engineer or sustainability manager. Know who you're outreaching to. Do keep your outreach high level. There is no need to go into extreme detail if the customer is not interested. Keep your outreach level high and simple so customers can easily understand your requests. Do reach out to the offering administrator if you're unsure about a customer question or request. We are here to help. We are also here to help review any materials that you are going to send out. And do use the Public Buildings and Distressed Community eligibility map to identify customers. Ineligible customers will be turned away, so make the most out of your outreach experience and target eligible customers. And lastly, some marketing don'ts. Do not say that you work directly for ComEd or the Energy Efficiency Program. Instead, say that you're an energy efficiency service provider through the program. Do not actively outreach to customers who voice that they're uninterested in the offering. This becomes a bad customer experience and may hinder the customer from participating in other offerings. Do not attach marketing materials that have not been approved. We have provided you with many materials. Please use those instead. Do not directly add your company's logo to any ComEd approved materials. You're more than welcome to send your email logo with the email with your company's logo at the bottom, but please do not attach any logos to the approved materials already. And lastly, do not outreach to ineligible customers. As stated before, they will be turned away if they are ineligible. Once again, to confirm eligibility, you can view our interactive map at comed.com/eligible map. And if you have any questions about marketing materials, outreach messaging, or anything else, we are here to help you. Please feel free to reach out to us at publicbuildings@cdac.org, and we'd be happy to help you with any issues you've been having. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. Once again, this presentation is recorded and will be available following the webinar. We will email it to everyone. If you have any questions following this webinar, please feel free to reach out to us at publicbuildings@cdat.org with any questions. At this moment, we can take any questions that came in through the chat box. Once again, everyone is on mute, so if you have any questions, please type them into the chat box to all panelists, and we'd be happy to answer them. We have one question here, and Brian, I can pass this to you. It's an easy question. Are residential customers included in eligibility?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, this program is not geared towards typically towards residential customers. One of the areas that could be eligible would be public housing authorities. So even though that because that is a public sector facility, that could potentially be included in this. So if you do work with public housing authority, let us know, and we can talk through that. But other than that, we are really focused on kind of the other public sector facilities like schools and park districts.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. So just to clarify, not your typical residential facilities, just the public housing authorities could potentially be eligible.
Yeah, and we have a follow-up question. Are state and federal facilities included in that?
Yeah, that's a great follow-up question as well. So yes, municipal and government facilities, including local, county, state, and federal facilities are eligible. So absolutely, if you do have any municipal and government facilities, please let us know, and we can help look through any clients that you may have, see which ones are eligible, or talk through that further.
Awesome, and we have another question coming through the chat. Brian or Patrick, I think this is gonna go to you guys. Who is responsible for initiating a request for a virtual site visit?
I can start off on that, and Patrick, if you'd like, you could add anything to it. Okay. So if we're thinking about this and we're talking to a customer, depending on however you decide that the virtual site visit makes the most sense, then typically you and or the customer could request to go with a virtual site visit, and as long as all parties agree, then we would move forward with kind of that virtual site visit. Once we do that, if you have the technology to do the virtual site visit, you're welcome to kind of initiate it, or you can bring us in, and we do have platforms to do that, so we can actually help set that up if you'd like, and then we'd make sure that everyone has a link to it, kind of like we're doing on the webinar here, where everyone has a link to it, and we can kind of go about it that way. So you could initiate it, or we could initiate it, the virtual site visit.
Awesome.
Patrick, did you have anything to add to that, or are there any other follow-up questions regarding that?
No, just that, the virtual site visits are there to, allow more flexibility in the offering. And, if people are interested in it, we support it. And if they're not, it's not required.
Awesome. We had another quest come in. Does the customer need to sign any paperwork? And I can actually take that question. Thank you so much for that question. It's very good. So initially, the application is just a notice of interest. There is a signature line that will need to be signed, but it's not signing, committing them to anything. On the lighting kit side and HVAC side, the customer will receive a customer selection form, after the site visit, outlining all of the measures that they're eligible for. And that's the moment that the customer will need to sign paperwork, and that will commit them to installing the lighting kit measures within 30 days and moving forward with HVAC measures. And then they will need to sign at the very end for verification. So there are 3 major points that the customer will need to sign. The first is the application, and that's just a notice. The second is the customer selection form. That's committing them to do the work. And lastly is the verification, and that's just to show that they've done the work. Brian and Patrick, we have another question back to you about the site visits. How many days after the initial request will the virtual site visit take place?
That's a great question, and I can start to answer that question. Patrick, if you want to add to it, that would be great. So we've seen a lot of virtual site visits take place, and from when the customer, we usually provide the customer with a number of different days that are available, and they will come back. I've seen virtual site visits take place within 24 hours of kind of the original request or the original dates that are provided, and I've seen them go out 2 weeks. So there certainly is a good amount of variance in there, and we're pretty flexible. So it really is what's best for the customer and what's best for any service providers if as well.
Awesome. We have 2 more questions that I think I can take. The first question is, are pictures needed prior to project submission and after they are installed? And that is a wonderful question. There are photo requirements needed before the project is installed and after to show the difference. That includes lamp stamps and something similar to that. I can follow up with you directly with the exact requirements for the verification and the photos needed, but yes, photos are needed before and after lighting is installed. And then the next question is also about lighting kits. How many days does the customer have to install the lighting kit? Also, how many lamps is the customer provided with? So to answer that first question, the customer has 30 days to install the lighting kits. We do require that if the customer is going to go outside that 30 days to let us know. Once that 30 days is passed, the customer is allotted 2 weeks to fill out that verification form and turn it back to us saying that they completed the lighting installation. However, this seems very daunting to a lot of customers. 30 days. So we are allowing customers to break their facility up into a certain amount of phases so it's more manageable. And then the second half of that question, how many lamps is the customer provided with? The customer is provided with as many lights as we identify in the facility. So as Patrick stated earlier in the presentation, interior lamps, exterior lamps, LED exit signs, occupancy sensors, are all included. Right now, there is no limit for the customer as long as they're able to install it. Those were great questions. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us. We will keep the chat box open, so feel free to stay on and type in any questions that you may have. If not, please feel free to reach out to us at publicbuildings@cdot.org following this presentation, and we will be sending out this webinar recording once we have complete. We have another great question that came in. Are outdoor fixtures eligible or just lamps? And at this point, it is just lamps for this offering. There are other offerings, such as the standard and custom program, that do cover fixtures. So at this point, it is just lamps. And another question about the project phases. If someone's doing a project in phases, do you have to submit another application? No, you do not. We will identify everything at the beginning, and then the customer will select what they want, and we'll just slowly chip away at it. So just one application is necessary.
Yeah, and just to add to what Taylor had mentioned is that, we kind of will have, you'll see the different lamps that are available. And I'm just thinking about from a lighting kit perspective, but if you had a number of lamps that were available in the customer selection form, you can decide which ones you want to move forward with. And then typically we would want to kind of have a customer selection form for the second phase, so that way, and second or third or fourth phase, so that way we can kind of order those and keep track of them accordingly.
Awesome. Well, we have hit 12:30. Once again, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at publicbuildings@cdac.org, and we'd be happy to help. Have a great day.